What's up everyone, I'm Steve and I show you how to take the BS out of personal finance. Today I'm going to talk about 5 critical ways to stop sucking with money. You ready? Let's go. Before we get into all this, let's understand the wealth building equation. It looks something like this. Income plus investments minus lifestyle equals your wealth. What you have after that, that's how much money you actually have. And that is important to understand as we go through these 5 critical elements, because that is how wealth is built. Income is usually how it starts. That's the entrance point. It's probably going to be your full-time job or your part-time job or side hustles or passive income. Side hustles are those things you do on the side, like maybe you mow lawns on the weekend or you do web design for people on the weekend or after hours. The things that don't fill your full-time job but you do on the side for a little bit extra money, those are side hustles. And passive income might be, for example, dividends or whatever money that you make that you don't really have to work for. Those processes are collectively called passive income. That's great, by the way. You don't have to work to make money. That sounds pretty good. Let's dive into number 1. The first principle is nobody got rich by saving money, at least alone. Saving money does not build wealth, although there is a really good benefit to saving money in a savings account. We'll talk about that in number 2 in just a minute. But wealth is built when wealth is invested. So we earn the income through full-time jobs, passive income, side hustles, and then we proceed to invest a portion of that money. And through compounding interest, we hopefully will make more money in the long run. Now, investments always contain an inherent risk. However, the Dow over the history of it, there's a clear upward, actually it's this way. There's a clear upward trend that if you think of investments as long-term, so none of this get rich quick crap, it's long-term investments tend to make money. They tend to appreciate, which means the things that you bought, like a share of stock or whatever, dividend stock, tends to appreciate over time, and then it's worth more than you paid. You make money. Common wisdom is you invest at least 10% of your income. That's a pretty good starting point, but depending on what your goals are, you may want to invest more if you can. I would strongly advise you to talk to a personal finance advisor to get a custom tailor-made plan just for you so you can figure out how much you should be investing and where. Don't just save, invest. And that brings me to number 2, emergency fund. Emergency fund. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that I hammer emergency funds. Think of your emergency fund this way. If you lost your job tomorrow, how long could you continue living your present lifestyle without making huge changes? That's going to come from your emergency fund. If you don't have that income coming in from your job, what's going to provide the income? And your emergency fund is that fund. And what I said earlier about there is a benefit to saving money, well, this is where it comes in. I like to encourage everybody to save an emergency fund in a separate savings account, not the same checking account that all of your other money comes into, because you are more tempted to spend that money that way. If it's available, if it's freely available, you're going to be tempted to spend it. So separate your emergency fund into a separate savings account. We use Ally, but of course you could use any bank you want. It's an interest-bearing savings account right now. It's not very high. It's a little over 1% or something, but at least it's something. That money is not going to keep up with inflation, which means technically we're losing spending power as we go because that money is not invested, it is saved. However, the benefit to that is that money is easily accessible if we need it. So a job loss, or the roof sprang a leak, or we got into an accident and we have a $5,000 car repair, or a health problem, any of these things that are unexpected, that is what your emergency fund is designed to take care of for you. I always like to encourage at least 6 months of your living expenses in an emergency fund. If you're not anywhere near that, that's okay. You don't have to get there next week or next month or even next year. The point is to just start. Start with whatever you can. Save whatever you can. Just start building that emergency fund. Once you have that emergency fund, you are de-risking your life and you will be happier for it. Number 3, get rid of debt. Now, not all debts are created equal. Some are better than others. For example, the numbers clearly show that those with a college degree tend to make more money over their career than those without a college degree. So student loans, for example, especially for a high-paying marketable degree, that's probably worth it. Even though the student loans, that is debt. There's no question about it. It's debt. But you're going to end up making more money in the long run by taking out that debt. So those are smarter debts. Not so smart debts, well, the first one that comes to mind is credit card. That's the worst kind of debt ever. The interest rates on credit cards are very high. So you definitely do not want credit card debt. And that is a huge component of building wealth and managing your money appropriately, is get rid of those debts as fast as you can. Of course, there are exceptions, like mortgages, for example. You get some tax breaks and things like that. Again, talk to a personal financial advisor to craft a more tailored plan for you and prioritize those debts accordingly. But the moral of the story is, especially with bad debts, get rid of those debts as fast as possible. Number 4, maximize your company-sponsored retirement accounts. For example, your 401k or your Roth IRA or 403, whatever you have available to you at work. And if you don't know, contact your HR department and they will let you know. If you have access to an HSA, that's a beautiful way to invest your money for medical expenses, and that effectively turns into a regular retirement account at 65 if you don't use that money. There are so many company-sponsored benefits to retirement accounts that you should be taking advantage of if they are available to you. The 401k is what we call pre-tax, which means it's lowering your taxable income and you are not responsible for paying taxes on that amount at the end of the year. It's a great way to invest for your future. Roth IRAs are post-tax, however, they grow tax-free. In theory, taxes are going to be higher when you retire than they are now. So paying taxes now instead of later, you might make money that way. And a lot of companies give you a match. So they'll match maybe 3% or 4% or 5% of what you contribute into your traditional 401k. That is literally free money. All you have to do is contribute at least that amount, and then your company will fork over that same amount into your retirement account. Again, that is free money. So if you don't know what your company offers you, definitely find out. And if you have access to these programs for long-term retirement investments, definitely take advantage of those. All right, number 5, and this one is actually my favorite. It's automation. Put your money life on autopilot so you don't depend on your discipline to make things happen. That was critical in my case because, quite frankly, I'm not all that disciplined with money. If I have it, I'm going to be tempted to spend it. So automation, these processes are set up to make sure money goes everywhere it needs to go without you having to lift a finger. Automatic contributions into your 401k or your Roth IRA, that's a great example of automation in play. Or if you have a brokerage account for additional investments, maybe make those transfers automatically. If you are building up an emergency fund, set up a transfer automatically every month from your checking account, which is the account that your paycheck probably goes into, or whatever that account is. Make a transfer from that account over to your savings account, which is where your emergency fund is. Just make it automatic so you don't have to think about these things. You don't have to remember to do them. It just always happens. Oh, we breeze through that way too quickly, but This is YouTube, and you probably don't want to sit around for 20 minutes. We talked about investing and not saving. We talked about emergency fund. We talked about maximizing your company-sponsored retirement accounts. We talked about automation, and we talked about getting rid of your debts. If you can master those 5 critical money principles, you're going to be ahead of so many people out there, and you're going to set yourself up to build wealth and retire the way that you expect. And that is ultimately what this is all about. So subscribe if you're not already, comment below if you have any questions, smash that like button if you liked it. If you didn't like this video, smash it anyway, and we will see you next time. Peace.